In the world of Middle-earth, few beings strike as much fear into the hearts of men, elves and dwarves alike as the Nazgûl, the Ringwraiths. Once kings and mighty rulers of men, they are now the most terrifying and relentless servants of Sauron, bound forever to the power of the One Ring. Today, we delve into the dark origins of these cursed figures, their rise, their enslavement to Sauron, and their ultimate role in the shaping of Middle-earth. To understand the Nazgûl, we must first travel back to the forging of the Rings of Power, crafted by the elven smiths of Eregion. Under the guidance of the Dark Lord Sauron, these rings were part of his master plan to dominate Middle-earth. While 3 rings were made for the elves, 7 for the dwarves, 9 were given to mortal men, men who above all else craved power. Sauron knew that the hearts of men were the easiest to corrupt. In the words of Gandalf, from the Fellowship of the Ring, 9 he gave to mortal men, proud and great, and so ensnared them. Long ago they fell under the dominion of the One, and they became Ringwraiths, shadows under his great shadow, his most terrible servants. These rings granted their bearers great power and immortality, but it was a twisted gift. Over time, the men who wore the rings began to fade, their lives unnaturally prolonged. Their identities were slowly eroded until nothing remained but wraiths, enslaved to the will of Sauron. The 9 kings became the Nazgûl, creatures neither living nor dead, trapped forever between the world of light and shadow. Through the One Ring, Sauron gained dominion over the Nazgûl. When he put on the One Ring, the 9 kings could no longer resist his power. Their wills were completely subjugated, and they became instruments of Sauron's malice, enslaved to the ring's power. As Tolkien describes in the Silmarillion, and into this ring he poured his cruelty, his malice and his will to dominate all life. Now mere shadows of their former selves, the Nazgûl carried out Sauron's will across Middle-earth. They were his most feared and deadly servants, and wherever they rode, death and fear followed. But what made the Nazgûl so terrifying was their nature. They were unseen by mortal eyes unless cloaked in black robes, and their shriek alone could freeze the hearts of even the bravest warriors. But how did these once great kings fall so completely into shadow? According to Tolkien, the Rings of Power gave their wearers long life and great influence, but with time, the curse of the rings began to take hold. As the years passed, the power of the rings began to twist their bearers. They became increasingly obsessed with power, and their physical forms began to fade until they became wraiths, undead servants bound to the One Ring and Sauron's will. In the Silmarillion it is written, "Those who used the 9 rings became mighty in their day, kings, sorcerers and warriors of old. They obtained glory and great wealth, yet it turned to their undoing. They had, as it seemed, unending life, yet life became unendurable to them. Their once proud identities were stripped away, and they became the Nazgûl, Ringwraiths, forever enslaved by the power of Sauron." The Nazgûl's most critical role came during the Third Age of Middle-earth, in the War of the Ring. With Sauron's power rising once more, the Dark Lord sought to regain the One Ring that had been lost for thousands of years. The Nazgûl, as his most loyal servants, were tasked with finding the ring and bringing it back to their master. Their search led them to Gollum, who had held the ring for centuries. Though he had lost it, he knew of its whereabouts. The Nazgûl tortured him until he revealed 2 vital clues, Shire and Baggins. And so, the Ringwraiths rode forth, spreading terror wherever they went, their mission clear: find the One Ring and return it to Sauron. Their pursuit of Frodo Baggins, the new ring-bearer, would become one of the most terrifying episodes in The Lord of the Rings. In a chilling scene at Weathertop, Frodo confronts the Nazgûl. As Tolkien writes in The Fellowship of the Ring, there was a deadly cold feeling in the air. They felt, more than saw, the shadows gather round them. Frodo felt a cold dread creeping over his heart. Frodo, in a moment of desperation, slips the ring on and enters the Wraith world. There, he sees the true form of the Nazgûl, not formless shadows, but kings of old, twisted and corrupted, with crowns of darkness and glowing eyes. Their relentless pursuit of Frodo, bound to the power of the ring, is one of the most intense moments in Tolkien's story. The Nazgûl, though terrifying, are not without their weaknesses. As Sauron's servants, their greatest strength lies in their connection to the One Ring and their ability to strike fear into the heart of mortals. Their very presence causes terror, and their deadly shrieks can freeze the bravest of warriors. But the Nazgûl are also vulnerable to specific forces. One of their greatest weaknesses is their fear of fire. At Weathertop, Aragorn drives them away, using torches and flames. In the Two Towers, Gandalf speaks of their vulnerability. They fear those who have mastered fire, and they do not dare approach where it has been kindled. They are also more vulnerable during the day. Without their mounts or Sauron's will empowering them, they are less dangerous when the sun is high. However, under the cover of night, or when Sauron's power is at its peak, they become nearly unstoppable. Among the Nazgûl, one stands above the rest. The Witch King of Angmar, he is their leader, the most powerful and feared of the Ringwraiths. In the Third Age, he led the assault on Gondor during the War of the Ring, and it was prophesied that no man could kill him. In the Return of the King, he says, "Come not between the Nazgûl and his prey, or he will not slay thee in thy turn. He will bear thee away to the houses of lamentation, beyond all darkness, where thy flesh shall be devoured, and thy shriveled mind be left naked to the lidless eye." This prophecy would not be his salvation. On the Pelennor fields, the Witch King confronted Éowyn, and in one of the most iconic scenes in Tolkien's work, Éowyn defied his prophecy. She proclaimed, "I am no man." With the help of Merry, she struck the Witch King down, ending his reign of terror. The fate of the Nazgûl was ultimately bound to the One Ring. As long as the ring existed, their power endured. However, when Frodo and Sam finally reached Mount Doom, and the One Ring was destroyed, the power of the Nazgûl was also shattered. With the destruction of the One Ring, the Nazgûl were utterly undone. As Tolkien writes in The Return of the King, the realm of Sauron was ended, the shadow departed, and the Ringwraiths were swept away like shadows before a great wind. And so, the greatest servants of Sauron were finally destroyed. Their long reign of terror came to an end, and the world of Middle-earth was free from their shadow forever. Though the Nazgûl were defeated, their legacy lives on in the annals of Middle-earth's history. They were a symbol of the corruption of power, a warning of what happens when men seek dominion over others at any cost. Their story is one of ambition, corruption, and the ultimate price of surrendering to darkness. When we compare the Nazgûl in Tolkien's works to their portrayal in Peter Jackson's films, several differences and similarities emerge. In the books, the Nazgûl are shrouded in mystery, with Tolkien describing them as the greatest kings of men who are now cursed. Their tragic fall is emphasized through subtle, atmospheric storytelling. In the films, the Nazgûl are portrayed with a visual intensity that amplifies their terror, especially through their iconic screech. However, this focus on fear sometimes overshadows the deeper psychological horror present in Tolkien's text, particularly their lost humanity. While Tolkien portrays their motivations as rooted in ambition and corruption, the films emphasize their relentless pursuit of the ring, simplifying their character arcs and downplaying their inner turmoil. Additionally, the films depict the Nazgûl as a more mindless force under Sauron's command, whereas the books explore their tragic origins and complex emotions, highlighting the fine line between power and corruption. The Nazgûl remain some of Tolkien's most haunting and memorable creations, a stark reminder that even the mightiest can fall, and that power once grasped can become an inescapable chain. Thank you for joining us on this dark journey into the history of the Nazgûl. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Middle-earth's lore, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more. And as always, feel free to reach out if you have any suggestions for future videos in the comment section below.